Rated M for mature.
Don't let your kids watch it!
Hey there, Artie!
Okinomiya XX Prefecture. The police station. Let's go. OEC. Shishibone City was, as far as provincial cities went, rather behind the times. Okinomiya, recessed in the mountains, was even more remote. With little change between the seasons, all that was left was the tepid passage of time. It made for a rather drab town. There was no tourist attractions or local delicacies. Without even a strong regional industry, it was simply dull. Just looking at the monotonous and peaceful townscape, it was hard to catch a glimpse of the radical resistance of the Onikafuji Guardians. The atmosphere of boredom didn't hint at the Okinomiya police station being on the front lines of the dam conflict, nor of the numerous incidents that I heard about at the prefectural headquarters.
おはようございます。違反金の納付ですか?
いえ、
We just assume.
アポイントがあります。赤坂とお伝えください。
Handaya.
失礼しました。少々お待ちください。
The clerk, who thought I was there to pay for a parking violation at first glance, after fumbling with an unfamiliar extension number, told the person on the line they had a visitor.
どうもどうも。赤坂さんでいらっしゃいますか?
Oh no, this is not
の
who we
はる
see.
ばるお疲れ様でした。こんな部屋で申し訳ありませんね。応接室を押さえてあったんですがね。議員さんが突然お越しになっちゃったんで追い出されちゃいまして。
He kind of sounds like an older Sunohara. I would hesitate to call where we were a conference room, as it was very small and cluttered. The cramped space was packed with lockers. I had the impression that it was more of a change room that doubled as one for smoking. You can tell that just by taking a whiff of the air. Listening to his crude chortles, I didn't get much of a feeling that Hondaya, who was the head of the local public safety division, was much of an intellectual. But I knew that, in exchange, he had both experience and absolute confidence in his instincts.
ご多忙中、突然お邪魔して申し訳ありませんでした。警視庁から参りました。
Akasaka is way too polite for a guy who has to miss the birth of his child for work. I would be way grumpier than this.
よろしくお願いします。
公安部の本田屋です。よろしくよろしく。県警防隊の3階部長から協力を惜しんなと脅されておりますので。
It's like the Mythbusters, but more cooler, but also not as cool. Are they gains that bust people up, or are they people who bust gains? I hope the second one. I thought that was a pretty funny joke too, Hyundai.
防隊県警の暴力団対策本部です。
Yeah, crime prevention, so they bust gains.
うちじゃ鬼ヶ淵支所の連中は暴力団の延長に位置づけてますんでね。あれを善意の住民運動だなんてあんた、東城もいいとこですわ。
They said the prefectural office, too, had the Onikafuji Guardians was linked to the local mob. Rocky's here, and he's gonna be real mad. If I recall correctly, the adopted son of somebody influential was a lieutenant in that gang.
そりゃ逆。全然逆ですよ。暴力団の活動があって、それに住民団体が大義名分みたいにくっついていると、そういう風に考えてください。
Maybe.
逆。
Hyundai was just about rolling with laughter. These jokes aren't even funny! It's like my videos. This was slightly different than the info given to me at the prefectural office, but somebody embedded locally would be more knowledgeable. While we were talking, occasionally some people who seemed to be detectives would come in and change. Bro, right here? Come on! Sorry, man, I gotta change into my swimsuit. I'm going to swim at the Y. You can't change at the Y, but we have the changing room right here. Bro, can you please do this somewhere else? That's okay, I don't mind. Yeah, but I do! One of those individuals, noticing Hyundai's guffaws, came up to us. Yay! Finally a familiar face! Finally a sprite! My gosh! Oh my god, why does this sound like Animal Crossing music? This does not belong in a horror game. Uisi, boy, am I glad to see somebody who has physical graphics.
おう、クラちゃん。ちょうどよかった。クラちゃんも入ってよ。
Yes,
こちら、
please!
はるばる東京の警視庁からお見えになった赤坂警部。
Inspector Akasaka.
警部だなんて。まだまだ新米です。
No, I like it.
赤坂で
Inspector.
す。よろしくお願いします。
初々しいのがいいですね。採用は今年ですか？
You bet, kid. I couldn't help feel like but I was being ridiculed. That's not what it said at all. Let's try that again. I couldn't help but think I was being ridiculed, so I only responded with a forced smile. I could tell that this new person was like Hondaya, the type who had confidence in their instincts and experience. I really didn't like those types of people.
赤坂さんにもご紹介します。こちらは刑事部の大石君。赤坂さんがお問い合わせの S 号の件なら彼が詳しいです。
S file!
S 号
園崎の
Yep.
S。
There it is.
S 号ってのはですね、園崎家が関連している件を示す。
I bet you the S file is
みたいな
way
もんなんです。
thicker than all the other files put together. Sonozaki? Come to think of it, I remembered when I was poring over the documents at the headquarters, there were quite a few people with the last name Sonozaki popping up.
確か園崎氏は鬼ヶ淵死守同盟の役員でしたね。
What a shock.
確か会計だったと思います。
The treasurer, sure. The two of them were surprised when I rattled off what post that Sonozaki held. After a moment, both of them erupted into laughter.
赤坂さんでしたっけ？あなたお勉強家さんですね。
Like, thanks.
ひょっとして同盟の連中の主要人物全部暗記してるんじゃ？
暗記というほどではありませんが、一応鬼ヶ淵死守同盟の
I
幹部
could
リスト
never
は
be a
一読し
detective.
ま
I
した
would forget these names immediately.
じゃあ会長と副会長は？
会長は現ひなみ沢村村長の
Oh
国吉
yeah,
喜一郎氏。
that guy. The guy who Shion murdered.
副会長は町会神社部長の古出氏。
Oh! Is that Rika, or are her parents still alive?
会計が園崎を領して、会計監査は牧野
Oryo
氏、
Sonozaki. Who the heck is Makino?
教頭部長が君
That
吉
is
を
eerily
指導し、
close to Makina,
広
and
報
I'd
部長
rather
が
forget about
園
her.
崎貞夫氏。
That's a lot of Sonozakis.
赤坂さん、あなたなかなかやりますね。
Let's get some other music in here, shall we? Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, hang on. No, I want the... Yeah, this one. Yeah, this is the good song.
給料安いけどうちに来ません？
Hard pass.
うちに一番必要で一番いないタイプですよ。
Yeah, I gotta remember this is in the past. So yeah, it's Rika's dad. Oh man, if we meet Rika's dad, that would be interesting.
で、ちなみに園崎貞夫は青年部長なんです。
Who the heck is Shadow Sonozaki? Well, what a ominous name.
惜しいですね。広報部長は園崎忠孝。
Who are all these people?
うん。
Feeling like I wasn't being complimented at all, I started settling into an uncomfortable mood. However, I was becoming more and more aware that I was the weakest link in the investigation, so I just had to bear with it. I didn't mean for that feeling to show up on my face, but the crafty detectives didn't let that slip by.
バカにしたつもりはないんです。お詫びと言っちゃなんですが。
Why don't I
なんで
take
した
you to
ら村を
Hooters?
実
It's my
際にご案
favorite
内しましょう。
restaurant. For somebody with no feel for the area like me, it would be a great help. I couldn't have asked for more.
鬼ヶ淵死守同盟ってのは結局ひなみ沢村の対外的な別称に過ぎません。村を知ることがあなたのお仕事の近道だと思いますよ。
That's true. They'll definitely talk to the cops.
いかがです？
The residential movement, in other words, held influence over the whole region. So the leader of the movement was the leader of that influence. Just like that, the thought processes in the region would become the overall personality of the movement. Just like Uisi had said, in order to learn what they were really like, this regional force behind the dam protests, getting to know the village was the quickest way.
よろしくお願いします。
Nodding back without skipping a beat, Uisi laughed in satisfaction and stood up. Boy, road trip with Uisi! Let's go. Yeah, it could be Mion's mom. Not sure. This is just the car noise again. If I took the information I learned at the prefectural office from Hondaya to heart, if my position was exposed, my personal safety was at risk. The opponent was an extremist group who had no qualms about using threats or violence against somebody. If my personal info was leaked, it wouldn't be hard to imagine that I'd be in danger, whether on the job or not. Thinking that, I felt a little nervous.
連中は顔を覚えるの早いですからね。私と一緒にいるところを見られると多分月並みですがね。こいつを身につけた上で。
Or fake mustaches? Oishi handed me a pair of an incredibly suspicious disguise comprised of a baseball cap, sunglasses, and a mask. I didn't want to get all hot and stuffy, but Oishi's warning was probably right on the money. Considering that, I put them on with appreciation. He's totally gonna haze us. Just because I made him put on this stupid outfit. This is going into the cringe album. I looked so suspicious that Oishi had to smile wryly.
どこまで話しましたかね。
御三家という旧家が村を支配しているというところまでです。
Yeah, the Onigafuchi Guardians was the same as the village of Hinamizawa itself. Meaning there was a direct correlation between being an executive in the alliance and being a leader in the village, as Hondaya had told me a short time ago. If the village was ruled by 3 ancient families, then it would mean the Onigafuchi Guardians was ruled by those same 3 families.
県警の資料には何て書いてありました？死守同盟のリーダー格とかそういうことについて。
The documents I was using were classified. If I responded to Oishi's question, it would be a breach of security. However, most likely, this man, I judged, was more well-versed in the situation than any of the documents at the prefectural police department, so I decided to answer him. You better not break that.
同盟の会長は現村長の君吉喜一郎。
Oishi, upon hearing that, let out a small chuckle. For him to ask that and to laugh at the answer, as it was recorded in the documents, meant that that wasn't the case in reality.
では君吉氏以外の影の人物がいると県警の持ついや一般的な情報とは異なり。
君吉のじいさんなんてただのお飾りです。
Oh yeah, the Sonozakis are definitely the
そ
ones
もそ
behind
もこの
everything.
村じゃ村長なんてポスト自体も形式だけなんです。
つまり同盟も村も本当の意味で支配している別の存在がいる。それが先ほどおっしゃられていた御三家。
まあそのあたりはこれからご説明します。
All of a sudden, with a thunk, the car suddenly lurched. Bro, did you just run over somebody? It's just a speed bump. On the highway? The paved road had given way to a gravel one. At the same time, the scenery outside the window had changed. Looks the same to me. The Hinamizawa Dam project must be withdrawn. Overthrow the shameless puppet of a governor. The dam will submerge the natural beauty of Hinamizawa. Protect the village from the unethical dam. Fear the wrath of Oyashiro-sama's curse. Demolish the dam. Those involved must go away. I'm surprised nobody wrote damn the dam. The construction office must respond. The construction office manager must negotiate with us. Signs and banners crowded the roadside. Even reading the brush-scrawled words was daunting. It was as though where the road just changed was a border with a different country. At that moment, I was startled by the car suddenly braking. Looking ahead, a barricade had been erected. About 5 or 6 protesters, wearing masks and helmets to hide their faces, were blocking the road, yelling at us angrily to stop.
これは何ですか？検問？
はあ？懲りない連中だな。
Oishi's like, you block the road, you get run down. Brrr. Oishi snorted as he rolled down the window and leaned out.
おいおいおい。あんたらダメだよ、こんなとこで道を塞いじゃ。
Yeah, come on. If you're going to protest, you cannot block the road. I do not have sympathy for you if you get run over if you are protesting and blocking the road. As Oishi glared at them with a malicious laugh, they visibly faltered.
道開けてくださいな。それじゃ通れないでしょ。
Who would have thought it was Uishi's car? That panicked thought seemed to make them lose their presence of mind.
大石刑事の車と分かってればこんなご無礼はし
See?
なかったん
He
ですね。
commands respect. I appreciate it.
大石刑事、いつもの車はどうされました？
Oh, he's using a different car. No wonder.
車検ですか？
そんなところです。 台車ってのはどうにも馴染みませんね。
Judging from the brief conversation, I could guess that they were familiar with the license plate of the car Uisi normally used. In other words, if they knew the car belonged to the police, they would have hidden the barricade. What they were doing was so obviously obstruction of traffic. A blatant crime.
そっ
Yes,
ちの怪しい男は誰です？あんた、顔を見せてくれませんか？
I could, but I won't. The man glared at me menacingly. Wearing a mask and sunglasses made me look rather particularly dubious. Would not showing my face get me into some unnecessary trouble? I turned to Uisi to see what I should do.
彼の顔は勘弁してあげてください。まだまだ新米でシャイなんですからね。
That is technically
不
true.
審な輩じゃないか確認しようってだけです。
No, 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 no.
最近のひなみさんは物騒ですからね。
Just pay no attention to the man with the fake mustache.
あんたのうち鏡歪んでるのと違います。
Good one, Uisi.
あんたのその面の方がよっぽど不審ですよ。
Nice mask. It's just Quasimodo.
な
The men and Uisi continued to talk like that, feigning smiles at one another. However, from the beginning to the end, I couldn't get over the feeling I was sitting on a powder keg.
ゴミの不法投棄車両まだ減らないんですか。オタクたちも本当に
Hey, Hinamizawa residents, have you stopped illegally dumping trash?
警察の方にもご理解とご協力をいただけて助かりますよ。
During that conversation, the barricade was moved, leaving a gap wide enough for a single car to get through. Uisi lightly honked the horn once and began to roll the car forward. I could see the men's antagonistic glares at the back of the car in the rear view mirror.
何ですかさっきのは。勝手に行動を封殺するなんて。
もちろん犯罪ですよ。
Yeah, why didn't you just load up the back of the car?
目くじら立てても始まりませんがね。連中の主張じゃですね、村内に不法投棄をするトラックが出没するっていうんです。
What were they dumping?
それを封じ込めるために不審車両を検問してるって話だそうで。
Oh, sure. That's why they're stopping cars and not trucks.
不法投棄？
Yeah, someone dumped the Colonel Sanders statue in the dump.
参拝を勝手に捨てようとする悪徳業者のことですか？
警察が何の手も打たないから自分たちで自衛するっていう論法でしてね。まあ参拝なんて話はどうせ自演だからどうでもいいんですがね。
自演？
連中うまい作戦なんですよ。ダム現場にですね、工事妨害のために参拝ゴミを自分たちでば
Oh,
らまいて
real
る。
classy.
でそれを悪徳業者のせいってことにして臨検を設置すると。
Ooh, corruption to the highest.
それで工事車両をいちいち足止めしてチクチクと妨害してるってわけなんです。
I feel like everyone's unlikable in this situation. It's just like real life.
鬼ヶ淵死守同盟の抵抗運動の一つ。
That dirty, underhanded methods.
多分今の検問でこの車のナンバーが割れましたからね。もうこの先には一切検問の真似事はないと思いま
There,
す。
guys, at least you got a new license plate. Just clear the way for him when
連
you
中
see
も
it.
私を怒らせると得をしないことだけは
Yeah, you have the
よ
power
ー
to
く骨
arrest
身
them.
に染みているようですからね。ね。この車が工事関係車両だと知れるとですね、散々検問で足止めを食らうばかりか、投石や鉄釘のばらまきなんかも食らうって噂です。あなたも
Wow.
身元が割れないようにせいぜい気をつけた方がいいですよ。公安なんてバレたらどんな目に遭うやら。
Yep. Uisi was acting like we were talking about something fun, but for me it was no laughing matter.
なるでどこぞの内戦の国に迷い込んだような錯覚です。
あんた、そりゃうまい言い方です。
Pretty apt.
今言われたのはまさにその通り。
Uisi turned to me with a grin and a menacing laugh.
ここはね、戦争地帯なんですよ。
The car slowed down a bit as we went down a narrow road through some farmland.
あそこの森の中に家があるのが見えます。古い感じの。
Looking at where Uisi was pointing, there certainly was an old, traditionally designed house.
あれが村長の君吉のじいさんの家です。君吉本家とも言いますな。分家筋が多いですから、御三家の一つにあたります。
御三家、ひなみ沢村を支配している旧家ですね。
そうそう。で、もう一つが古出家。
I want to see Rika's house.
こっちは分家どころか、もう神主一家しか残ってませんがね。ちょうどあっちの方にね、
Oh,
神
that's
社
right.
がありまし
Rika
て、
is the last Furude.
そこの神主をしています。ちなみにね、死守同盟の事務所はその神社の敷地内にあります。
The office of the Onikafuchi Guardians. If these guys were the enemy, that would make their shrine their stronghold.
そこを見ることはできますか？
神社は古出家の私有地でね、警察といえど令状がないと踏み込めません。
True dat.
電柱のバックには村の息のかかった議員もいますからね。
Yep.
警察にも強いところと弱いところがあるってことです。
Yeah. They can just say come back with a warrant.
御三家とは言ってもですね、そりゃあだいぶ大昔のことなんだそうです。大昔はその御三家ってのは合議して村のいろいろなことを決めてたらしいですな。
ということは、今は違うということですね。
あんたいちいち察しがいいですね。さすが高学歴。
The car braked to a halt with a squeal. Ahead of where we were stopped were several signs. Private property beyond. No trespassing. Beware of poisonous snakes. If they bite you and it kills you, it's venomous snakes, not poisonous. Danger. Turn back. Intruders will be charged with an entry fee of 1,000,000 yen. That seems a little excessive. Signs were erected here with things like that written on them. The road was separated from the forest by a chain-link fence wrapped in barbed wire.
私有地なんでここまでです。この先は監視カメラがいくつも仕掛けられてます。うっかり道に迷いましたなんて論法が通じる相手じゃありませんからね。
この先がそうなんですね。
The people currently controlling Hinamizawa and the Onikafuchi Guardians were neither the Kimiyoshi family nor the Furude family, but the last of the three.
この先にあるのが御三家の一つ。ひなみ沢村を影から支配する連中です。
Among the list of executives recorded in the documents, the number of people with the last names from the three families was quite high. Of course, Sonozaki was no exception. However, at the top was the Kimiyoshi family. If the Kimiyoshi family seemed to be in charge, the rulers behind the scenes were the Sonozaki family. This double-layered structure implicitly told me that this village had both a light and a dark side.
園崎家の頂点は現当主の園
We
崎
still
お
haven't
嬢
met
さん
her.
のばあさんです。園崎天皇なんて呼ばれるくらいにその発言には影響力があるそうです。気をつけてくださいよ。市長だって最敬礼でお迎えするような VIP ですからね。
I would hate living there.
まあ、ひなみ沢と周辺の町に住む村の親族の数千の評伝を固めてるわけですから、政治家は頭上がらないんでしょうが。
Well, that's true. It's all about the votes. It's not about actually being like genuine and doing good. No, it's about just getting the power, right?
つまり、
Say whatever you need
そ
to.
の人物が鬼ヶ淵死守同盟の事実上のトップということですね。
そうなります。
With those words, Uisi pulled out a well-worn cigarette box. The suspected kidnapping of the minister's grandchild and subsequent threats. Were these part of the hidden plot by the Onikafuchi Guardians in order to have the Hinamizawa Dam project cancelled?
あなた、東京からはるばる調べにいらしたんですよね。
ええ、そうですか。何か。
じゃあほら、あれだ、犬飼大臣への直訴事件の絡みですかな。要するに、あれで要注意団体ってことで公安がマークすることになったと。そういう感じですか。
Oh, he sure knows a lot.
大石さんこそ、お察しが早くて助かります。
While exhaling out cigarette smoke, Uisi smiled broadly, like I'd just pulled a good one on him. Or so I thought. His smile disappeared suddenly.
嘘でしょ。だから、直訴事件でマークがついたっての、嘘でしょ。
Uisi knew there was no way that Tokyo HQ would dispatch an investigator over something as minor as a direct appeal. If they were to dispatch someone, it would have to be for a more dire reason. He had figured out as much. I thought of myself as the type of person who doesn't let things show on their face. In front of his watchful gaze, however, I felt that what I was thinking was completely laid bare. Even though you're wearing a mask? Uisi silently lit another cigarette, as if waiting for me to interject during this awkward pause. I see. So this was a veteran detective's way of getting someone to spill information. But, as long as I realized this, there would be nothing more. If I didn't open my mouth, I wouldn't have to lose anything.